Hey, what's up? It's your man Kevin Gray on Kevin Gray Sports here on my YouTube channel. Appreciate you joining me here, talking a little Cowboys as the Cowboys take on the Washington Commanders in the NFL season finale for Week 18 of the National Football League. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports, same on Instagram and Facebook. Don't forget, you can check out my podcast, the Gray Area Podcast, wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. Pretty cool opportunity to be able to chat with you here on my channel. Had a chance to talk with Jake Ferguson, Cowboys tight end, ahead of the Cowboys matchup against the Commanders, where the Cowboys have a chance on Sunday to be able to win the NFC East and secure the 2 seed in the NFC Playoffs with a win against the Commanders, who are punting on their final game of the season, trying to position themselves in April's NFL's annual selection meeting, otherwise known, of course, as the NFL Draft. If you had told me about a month and a half ago that the Cowboys, during the final week of the season, would have an opportunity to secure the number 2 seed and potentially not 1, but 2 home playoff games, I would have told you were nuts. I go back to that fateful Monday night game when the Eagles played the Kansas City Chiefs on the road and Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped what would have been a game-winning touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it felt like at that point that the Eagles were going to find a way to get away with it all the way to back-to-back NFC East championships. But as the football gods would have it, they don't like the idea of back-to-back NFC East champions. And the Cowboys are now in prime position to take advantage of that. And you give the Cowboys for continuing to stay the course throughout the course of this season, dealing with injury, dealing with the adversity, and sometimes their own poor play to be able to be in this position. After losing back-to-back games to the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, they were able to pick themselves up off the mat, find a way, thanks to the referee gods, to be able to handle their business against the Detroit Lions. And I say that tongue-in-cheek, obviously. CeeDee Lamb absolutely balled out for over 200 receiving yards. Dak Prescott had a beautiful 92-yard touchdown pass to the aforementioned CeeDee Lamb. But the Cowboys have now earned the right to be in this position, and with a little bit of luck from the Philadelphia Eagles having choked away a football game against the Arizona Cardinals, the Cowboys, by virtue of better conference record with a win on Sunday against Washington, now become the team that would be the number 2 seed. And if they do get that 2 seed, that means they would not be on the road potentially until the NFC Championship game. And all the conversation, all the talk around this team, a team that with a win on Sunday would have 36 regular season wins over the past 3 seasons. That means your man Big Mike would have taken the Cowboys to a 36-15 record over the past 3 seasons, going 12-5 for 3 consecutive years. Normally, a coach who has that kind of success over a 3-year period, there's no doubt about his return to the team the very next season. But yet, this is the Cowboys. For all the winning that they've done over the last now 3 years, they have 1 playoff win to show for it. And for the Cowboys, who are looking to do something that hasn't been done in now 28 years, the opportunity is in front of them, and maybe this Jimmy Johnson curse was lifted after, of course, Jimmy Johnson was put into the Ring of Honor by Jerry Jones and the Cowboys organization. Again, I say that tongue-in-cheek, but I know for some of you, you believe that Jimmy Johnson curse is real, and maybe it has been lifted by some of the breaks that the Cowboys have been able to catch over the last couple of weeks. But regardless, they've got to go handle business on Sunday, and they should rather comfortably. Should. You remember last year thought the same thing during the final week of the regular season when they had a chance to have an outside shot at improving their playoff positioning and lost to Sam Howell and the Washington Commanders. That should not be the case this time around. Again, Washington dealing with a myriad of quote-unquote injuries as they get ready to take on the Cowboys. So everything is in line for this team to take advantage of a situation presented to them by them continuing to stay the course. The Philadelphia Eagles, who have been getting away with it all season, finally couldn't against the Arizona Cardinals. And now the Cowboys sit in a pretty darn good spot to take advantage of it. Some of us are surprised, call me one of them, because I didn't think the Cowboys would be here with a chance to clinch the NFC East and the number 2 seed during the final week of the season, the way things seem to be breaking for the Philadelphia Eagles throughout the early portion of the year. But that is why they play all the games. And for this defense led by Dan Quinn, which will continue to be a topic of conversation, not just because of the Cowboys and how much they'll need this defense during this postseason, but we may be looking at the final run of Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. There have been some reports already that show that he will be a hot commodity once again this offseason. And the question that I have for Cowboys fans is, how much longer do you think Dan Quinn will continue to say no to head coaching opportunities in the NFL? I tend to think as that door continues to get knocked on, that Dan Quinn will eventually answer. And according to David Moore of the Dallas Morning News, if the right offer comes along, Dan Quinn will be much more apt to listen this time around than at any point during his time with the Cowboys, where Jerry Jones ensured that Dan Quinn came back last season by making him one of the highest paid assistants in all the NFL, and Mike McCarthy spearheading the idea of bringing back Dan Quinn for this defense. And you talk to Cowboys players, and they love playing for the defensive coordinator who has changed the culture of this defense and has brought stability to this unit now for the last few seasons. So, with all that being said, with the Cowboys' opportunity to make a deep playoff run, the job security of Big Mike McCarthy based off of what he's done, yes, with regular season success, but not the postseason success that would befit the resume that he came to Dallas with as a Super Bowl champion and someone who knows how to win in the month of January. He has got to find a way to lead this team to where they haven't been in nearly 3 decades, which is to the NFC Championship game. Because if he doesn't, after the way things have shook out and lined up for this team based off of where they are and what they have in front of them, and they can't win 2 home playoff games potentially to get to the NFC title game, then I don't know how Big Mike survives it. Now, I do think that Mike McCarthy will be back regardless of the outcome, but I would not be shocked if he was dismissed as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And them's the breaks. I don't make the rules. A championship organization who believes that the Super Bowl is their birthright based off of the amount of success they've had throughout the course of their franchise history knows, and specifically Jerry Jones that is, that time is running out. He has put together 3 terrific teams over the last 3 seasons, and this one appears to have a chance to capitalize, led by Dak Prescott, who has had a terrific year bouncing back from the interceptions that he had last year, although it was overblown a little bit based on what we've seen in the prior track record that Dak had coming into last year. Had the broken thumb, led the league in interceptions, but this year has obviously reduced the turnovers and been spectacular, playing at an MVP-like level throughout the course of this season. Couple that with CeeDee Lamb, was turned into a first-team All-Pro, in my mind, wide receiver this year. Micah Parsons is going to be first-team All-Pro for the 3rd consecutive year on defense, may win the Defensive Player of the Year, another Pro Bowl, along with a good offensive line. Shout out to Leo Collins, by the way, who's back with the Dallas Cowboys, along with Damian Wilson, who also used to play for the Cowboys, as they continue to get the band back together, if you will. All that to say there's a lot of talent on this football team. And that includes tight end Jake Ferguson. Ferguson, in his 2nd year out of Wisconsin, has turned himself into the number 1 tight end for this team and a true dynamic weapon for Dak Prescott and this offense. I had a chance to sit down and talk with Jake Ferguson ahead of the game on Sunday and got into a really nice conversation with him about what greatness means to him, where this team's mindset is, and more importantly, what he feels like this team can achieve based off of what they've done so far. And while that was a difference, what the difference has been for him and this team from last year to this year to have them at this point. Here's my conversation with Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson right here.
So tell me,
Going into this final week, Jake, what's the mentality of this football team? Obviously, you're moving toward the playoffs, but from a mental standpoint, focus standpoint, where do you and this team feel like you are right now?
Yeah, I think we're set up, set up for something great, and I think that we're in control of our own destiny, and I think that goes down to finding the importance of everything that we're doing, every little thing, every big thing. Every little moment at this time is important. What you're doing outside of the field, what you're doing at night, what time you're going to bed, what you're putting in your body, what you're doing in here, what you're doing in the meeting room, how you're, taking notes, how do you approach practice, how you go to practice, stuff like that. I think every little moment leading up to this is important, and that's going to set us up ultimately to, be focused, play our game, trust ourselves, and like I said, take control of our destiny.
Tell me where your mindset was a year ago versus where it is now, based off what has happened for you over the last year and the difference of where you are now versus what you were last year.
Yeah, I think the difference would be this year is, I have a little bit more of a hand and a little bit more of a role in what we could do, and that could sound like what I said earlier. I need to be locked in on everything I'm doing, and that goes with, like I said, all the little things. That goes with everything I'm doing outside of here, everything I'm doing inside of here. It needs to be locked in because, I am a piece of this offense that can, make or break or, drive us, last week I had a drop coming out of our own red zone, and it was on a seam ball, went right through my hands. And, CD made a 92-yard play after that, but we don't get that. And, it's fourth down. We get a change of pace that changes the game. And I think those little instances, those little moments is where I need to capitalize. So a big play like that isn't needed. It doesn't need to be something like that. It's, okay, maybe we can, makes it a little bit easier for us because, that is the role that I have, and it needs to be, it's that standard that we set in the tight end room. It needs to be, great product, and we're trying to achieve greatness in that room.
Yeah, for you looking at now going into this week and what you're looking at going forward, what does that specifically look like for you and how you want to ensure that you continue to affect this offense in the best way that you can in the role that you have going forward?
Yeah, I think it's, capitalizing whenever my number's called, and then at the same time doing the dirty work, doing the, the run game, the pass pro, route running if I need to clear out something or if I need to, take a defender away. It's doing the little things right. It's doing the dirty work. It's doing the, whatever it takes to help this team win wherever they want me. If they need me to block on 80 plays, I'll go block on 80 plays. You know what I mean? It's whatever it takes at this point.
And last couple of questions for you. For those on the outside looking in, how would you describe what this time of the year looks like and what goes into the preparation of moving toward a championship type of run?
Yeah, I think if you want to be great and etch your name in the history books, this is where the time it starts. It's not playoff football yet, but this is how you approach it. Every game from here on out counts. Like I said earlier, the destiny's in our hands. We got to take advantage of it.
And last one for you, this tight end room, how close you guys are, Linda Wells and the guys that work that you put in. Describe what that room is like on a day-to-day basis and the mentality that you guys take and the approach to the game.
Yeah, we are really close. We've created, bonds in that room, all of us. And I think that, that's really fun. And that means we've got a good room and it's easy to bounce off each other, but at the same time, it helps us hold each other accountable. You know what I mean? And I know for a fact that if I jump off sides again or if I don't make some of those catches, Scoon's coming for my job, and I respect that, and I gotta understand, hey, if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not playing to our standard, there's always somebody coming in after, and that's the respect that we've built in our room, and that's the approach we have in our room. Is everybody's ready.
I can't let you go with asking this because it just came in my mind real quick. Define greatness and what that means for Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think doing all the little things right and getting, making an impact on this team and ultimately getting this team to the big one and winning that MF.
So appreciate Jake Ferguson for sitting down with me for a little bit, having a really nice conversation. And you can hear in his voice the amount of excitement and, more importantly, the fervor and the confidence that he has in the mentality in which this Cowboys team is presenting themselves right now. And if that is the case, this team should be able to handle business comfortably against Washington. And if they can't, yikes. This team would be the 5th seed and have to go on the road to face the winner of the NFC South, where I would still have confidence that the Cowboys would win such a matchup. But if you don't handle business, there's a little bit of lacking of confidence that you could actually make a deep playoff run, because you would have to go on the road throughout the course of your playoffs. The Cowboys have everything to gain in front of them, including what could be an NFC Championship game appearance for the first time in nearly 3 decades. And if that is the case, all bets are off, because who knows what happens in the tournament in the NFC side of things. Maybe San Francisco slips up. Who knows? It's been a topsy-turvy NFL season where anything has been able to happen so far this year. And if the Cowboys find a way to stumble into hosting the NFC Championship game at AT&T Stadium, where they have gone undefeated now over the last couple of seasons in that building in Arlington, maybe the Jimmy Johnson curse was real and it's been lifted. And I can assure you, I can promise you that the likes of Jimmy Johnson, Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, and others will be in the building to possibly see that NFC Championship trophy be handed to Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not going to get over my skis on this team based off of what we've seen so far, because over the last couple of years, they've had terrific football teams and disappointed ultimately when it mattered most. This feels a little bit different, and maybe the football gods are looking down on the Cowboys finally and looking their way on the road to Las Vegas. Maybe the Cowboys are on their way there, based on what they've done, what they've achieved, and more importantly, the men in that room and what they believe they are capable of, led by Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, and others. This team is good. They're really good. They're on the short list of contenders to win the Super Bowl. Now it's time for them to prove it. Can they? I guess we're about to find out. Appreciate you joining me here on Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And again, thanks to Jake Ferguson for hanging out with me for a little bit, having a really good conversation with him. You can download and subscribe to my podcast, the Gray Area Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts for free. You can also check out my other podcast, Inside the Mavs, where I cover the Dallas Mavericks for 97.1 The Freak as Mavericks pre- and post-game host. Again, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to give me a follow there. And if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Peace.